I also came to the conclusion that I don't believe the foreign policy either. I just don't believe them. I don't believe a word they're saying. And I say this to people knowing, again, that some of you are going to disagree with me, but I'm telling you I'm not a leftist in any way, and I came to the conclusion that they're lying sociopaths domestically, and they don't magically transform into angelic beings when it comes to foreign policy. They're also lying to us there. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some nasty people around the world. I mean, there's no need to caricature what I'm saying. But I think back to the 1990s when I was, well, younger than I am now, and I basically believed that, well, I'm a good little conservative, and so, when the authorities tell me that military action is necessary, only a pinko commie would question that. Now, that was a big, big moral mistake I made, an intellectual mistake, and I'm sorry I made it. And I think back to the disgraceful ways I used to make up excuses for these people. They would commit horrific atrocities, and they would do it on the most flimsy pretext. I mean, the arguments they made for some of these wars were so transparent. I thought, I began to think, how can a conservative, really, who's supposed to be dedicated to Western civilization and reason and on, be swept up in this? I mean, it's so beneath us to fall for some of this stuff. And yet I fell for it, and I would go around searching for corroborating evidence to support their lies. And if I had seen a poor Russian in the Soviet Union doing the same thing, saying to his neighbors, no, what Pravda is telling us is true. Look, I've been looking it up, and I've looked at all this evidence I found. I would have treated that person with contempt. But for some reason, when it was my looting expropriators, it was okay for me to make excuses for them and to search out corroborating evidence for arguments that they had abandoned. They themselves had, they weren't even making these arguments anymore, and I was still looking for ways to defend them. And I finally just decided, and this was back in the early 1990s, after the first Persian Gulf War. Now, this is a war a lot of people thought was just, nothing wrong with it, Saddam's a bad guy, he's massing his troops on the Saudi border, and so on and on. But I remember hearing about people, hundreds of thousands of people retreating, being incinerated, and I'm being asked to have a Bob Hope special to celebrate this. Some backward country, some backwater, which actually by regional standards was relatively advanced, hardly. But relatively speaking, a modern healthcare system and so on and so forth. So I thought to myself, what's happening to me? What have I allowed this institution to do to me that I could look so callously on these poor people? I don't care that they were conscripted into an army. They were conscripted, most of them, and I don't care that the sociopaths in DC have told me I'm supposed to hate these people, because I don't hate them. And when I saw that I was supposed to, if there had been an earthquake over there, we would all be tears and pity about it. But when they're incinerated alive, nothing. These people are human garbage.